Today I'm going to talk about this book, Solaris by Stanislaw Lem. I was completely blown away by how great this book really is. I had heard it was really good. I had heard, it's a science fiction classic. I'd heard it's a cult classic. I had heard it's one of the better books to come out of the new wave of science fiction, which would have been, I guess, the 60s and 70s. It's certainly not new anymore, but none of that means anything because this book is so good and it's so well written. It's beyond all of those kind of genre categories and things like that. It's not just a science fiction book. It's so much more than that, and it's so good. It's definitely a 10 out of 10. If you haven't read this yet, you really, really need to read it. So, Solaris was published in 1961, written by Stanislaw Lem. He was a Polish science fiction writer, and I did a little bit of research and found out that he was extremely popular in his time. So why he's not more widely read, I do not know. I know that this book is fairly well known, largely because there's been 2 films made from it. I'm going to talk about the movies at the end, but we just don't really know much about Stanislaw Lem, and I think he gets overshadowed by the other big names in science fiction and the other big names from science fiction of the time. One that comes to mind is Isaac Asimov, who, in my opinion, could not write a compelling sentence if his life depended on it. Cool ideas and all that, but actually just not a very good writer. Whereas this book by Lem, so well written, absolutely blows everyone else away. I absolutely love this book. This book to me is just absolutely perfect. The prose is so well written. I do realize it's a work in translation, so that needs to be taken into consideration. But the original text would have to be good in order to be translated the way that it has, in my opinion. The prose is tense when it needs to be tense. It's sparse when it needs to be sparse. It's also wildly beautiful and touching and lyrical when it needs to be. And, it's really hard to find. It's pretty rare to find writing that's just that well balanced within one book, and especially within a science fiction book. You just don't really come across writing like that very often. So on a prose level, it's just absolutely amazing. The pacing on it is just fantastic. It's a very short book. My copy of this, 214 pages, not very long at all. Another thing that I think works to its advantage, so many science fiction books can be 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 800 or 900 pages long, but to tell a great story within 200 pages or so is quite the skill, in my opinion. It's definitely a book about big ideas, which science fiction of the time is known for, and science fiction in general is known for. But it's also a very compelling story. Like I said, it's very well paced. It's almost written like a thriller. It's also got morally conflicted characters. It's got a nice small cast of characters as well, too. So it's actually a really highly accessible book. And the main character is very dynamic and very, very conflicted. So what's it all about? This is the story of a psychologist named Kelvin. He's sent to observe a space station which is observing the planet Solaris. Part of his mission is to determine or figure out should these observations and studies of the planet continue. So we learn pretty quickly that the planet Solaris is very peculiar, it's very strange, and it's been, ever since it was discovered, it's been studied. So it's been studied for decades and decades and decades. Hundreds of scientists of all different types of fields, from geology to physics, chemistry, biology. All of these different scientists have come up with different theories about Solaris. In particular, the ocean that seems to occupy the majority of the planet. People can't quite figure out, what is this ocean? Is it a living thing? Is it just a body of water? Is it something else? Is it some kind of new entity? What is its function? What is its purpose? How does it relate to the planet? And all this kind of crazy stuff. What's really interesting is that These scientists have collected all this data. They've collected tons and tons and tons of data, and they publish hundreds of volumes of works. I mean, there's libraries filled with theories about Solaris and theories about the ocean of Solaris, and none of the scientists can actually prove their theories, which is really interesting. And I think that that sets out a really interesting premise in the book, that this is a very mysterious planet that can be studied but not understood. We still don't quite know what's going on with this planet. So Kelvin arrives on this space station, and I have to say too, like, I'm going to get sidetracked here, but the opening chapter and the opening sequence when Kelvin is in his capsule and he leaves his ship and then docks with the station is written so well, and I just really, really loved it. It's definitely of its time. Like I said, it was published in 61, so probably written maybe 58 or 59 or 60. So space travel then was still very much a mechanical kind of operation and a very like physical act to be taken out. And the way that he describes what Kelvin has to do to get in and out of his capsule and the transitions that he makes and things like that, so cool, so well written, just amazing. And it was one of those passages that was highly detailed, and yet it worked. You know, sometimes writers can be highly descriptive and highly detailed, and it just becomes a bit of a labor. But Lem has a really good eye and really good mind for when that should be there and when it shouldn't be there. So, okay, so Kelvin arrives back. He arrives in the station, and he finds that the crew is in disarray. The station is in disarray as well. And one of the crew members has recently passed away through some strange circumstances that aren't exactly clear, but he does get to the bottom of it. The following morning, Kelvin wakes up in his room on the station, and his wife is there. But she's been dead for 10 years. She's there. She's in the flesh. She speaks to him. She seems like completely like his wife, like the last day that he saw her. So this raises the question of how is that possible? Why is that possible? Where did she come from? And so this sets forth kind of a bit of an existential crisis for Kelvin. We learn some things in his backstory about his relationship with his wife. And we also learn quickly that the other crew members have had similar visitors. That's how they're referred to. That's how she's referred to in the book. She's a visitor, and they've each had a visitor from their past, and it's caused them to basically kind of go crazy and just like lose it. So from here we get confrontations between the characters. It becomes very tense. Kelvin tries to get rid of his wife, and she comes back again. There's strange, weird experiments on the ocean that get carried out to try to determine what's going on. And it's clear that there's a relationship between the ocean and the visitors. And I'm not going to give away any more plot there. Don't worry, I have not spoiled anything in the book. All of that stuff happens very, very early in the book, so I haven't given away anything for you yet. So Lem in this book really uses almost everything in the narrative, from dialogue to description to exposition, to keep returning to a central question. And that question is, what is intelligent life? And how do humans rank against other intelligent life? Or if we were to define what intelligent life is, how do humans stack up to that definition? And maybe our definition of what intelligent life is completely wrong or poorly informed. Maybe not wrong, but just poorly informed. So it's really big, heavy stuff. And as you can imagine, it causes a lot of anguish for the characters to come to terms with that kind of question. And it also raises the question too, is like, are humans really like running the show? Are we really in charge of what's going on in space, what's going on in the galaxy, what goes on in reality? Or are we just the playthings of larger and greater forces? So I'm not going to spoil anymore. I'm not going to tell you the conclusion that Lem paints or anything like that for you. It's definitely one that's open for interpretation by the reader. And if you haven't read this book, you really have to read it. If any of that sounds intriguing to you, you've got to read this. And don't watch the movies. They absolutely miss the point. They're not bad movies, but they really kind of miss the point of the book. I honestly wasn't expecting this book to hit me this hard and to be as good as it is. I just wasn't expecting Solaris to really be such a fantastic and a great book. And I want to read more of Lem, and I want to read more science fiction like this. It just has a way of kind of getting under your skin and really making you think. And it's just, I have to say this again, it's written in such a compelling way. It's such a great novel. I just found myself like wanting to read it. Like I kept snatching time away from my day to read it and to think about it and what was going on. The more I think about Solaris, the more I think this is a book about ourselves and not about other things. And it's a book about how we project meaning onto the objects and onto our reality around us. And then we think we understand, which is not always true. So it says more about us than anything else. So that's just my theory about it. If you've read it, if you've got a theory about the ocean in Solaris, or if you think you know what it is, please leave a comment below. Is it a god? Is it a mirror? Is it something else? Is it a portal? I'd really love to hear your ideas and your comments below. And if you've read the book and you have some thoughts about it, if you liked it in the way I liked it, or if you didn't like it, please leave a comment below and let me know if it stuck with you the way that it has stuck with me.